What's going on, guys? I just got back from the EVA1 footage unveiling in New York, and I know a lot of people like me have been waiting to see footage from this camera for months now. I did get a chance to finally play with the camera, get it in my hands, feel the weight, the size, really see, because it's hard to really relay that information from a video. We can get all the specs, but really seeing it in person, I have to say that the size is fantastic. It's a lot smaller when you actually see it in person than what it appears to be on video, in my opinion. But let's get to what you guys really want to know about. You guys can read up on the specs and see the images online, but the videos that we saw were three short films ranging from 8 minutes to 3 minutes, pretty much just showing off what this camera can achieve visually. Right off the bat, the moment the first short film began, it really just reminded me of the image pulled from the Varicam. It really does look like a Varicam. It's not quite there, but it's as close as you're ever going to get. The image is super crisp. Color science is fantastic. It's vibrant. The image really pops. But after actually seeing the footage and really understanding what I can achieve with this camera, it doesn't fit my personal needs. And I even talked to a colleague that was actually with me at the unveiling. We kind of spoke about it together. We both agreed that this camera is really great, in our opinion, really great for more broadcast work, commercials, stuff for television. The footage was lacking that cinematic look that a lot of people are going for indie filmmaking and documentaries. Pretty much the look you're going to get from like a Canon. It's one of the main reasons why I'm going to wait a few more months to see what else Canon has up their sleeve. The C200 in terms of specs just wasn't going to cut it. We all know the specs for that camera is pretty disappointing. One thing I have to say about Panasonic is they really do push the limits, and they're not trying to cripple their cameras. The guy, even the representative there, which you guys have seen in a lot of YouTube videos, I forget his name, a guy with gray hair, glasses, he was there, and he says, we have nothing to harm with speccing this camera out. This camera is in a specific slot that we don't have anything above or below that really fits, the mold that this camera has and that, that it produces in terms of specs and pricing. Whereas Canon has the C100, the C200, the C300, and so on. So for them, it's kind of a little bit more of a tricky situation. But overall, I have to say that after seeing the footage on a large screen, I wore my glasses to make sure I could see, really pixel peeping, that this camera is not for me because visually it just looks too broadcast. It's lacking that cinematic quality that I was hoping that Panasonic would be able to deliver with this camera. I should have known better. They were saying, they were comparing it to the Varicam heavily, and I agree, it really does pull off the Varicam look. If you like that look, purchase this camera. It is a little mini Varicam. It really is. It's fantastic. I do have one major complaint that everyone can relate to. One of the short films they showed was trying to relay how well the camera can perform in low light. It was a Western, and there was a scene where they were around a fire, like a campfire. And they were shooting at 2500 ISO, which was supposed to, show off the dual ISO. This camera was very noisy at 2500 ISO, like shockingly noisy. I was honestly shocked that they showed this footage to represent how well this camera is in low light. I was honestly shocked. And not only that, but when we got back into the main room where they had like 3 or 4 cameras set up, they had one Varicam and then three EVA1s. This is what they gave us at the place. They also gave me a hat just to show proof that I was actually there. I'm not doing this for views. A lot of people were watching these video screens that they set up that were showing the short films after the fact, after we got out of the theater. When that campfire scene came up, I just hear a lot of people just saying, yeah, man, it's noisy. And even, like, I thought maybe it was like, oh, maybe it's on the theater screen, and when I see it on like a TV, no, the TV looked worse. And there was a there's a Panasonic rep kind of standing there as everyone was saying that, and he kind of butted in and was like, well, guys, you got to understand that this was a pre-production camera. It's a pre-production version. He goes, the sensors on pre-production cameras tend to be more noisy than the ones that will be shipped. And we all kind of like looked at each other like, okay. Kind of felt like an excuse to me. It felt like he was kind of just looking for something to say, because we were all just saying, wow, this looks really noisy. Like a lot of people were saying it. So is this camera a low light beast? From what I saw, not at all. Now, with that being said, the first short film they showed us, there was a bunch of night scenes, but you could tell he had a bunch of studio lights set up, and it looked fantastic. It looked really good. There was some noise here and there, but it was good. But when they showed the campfire scene, which was like the absolute worst case scenario you can be in, the shot was really noisy, really noisy. And the actual director of the film was there, we got to ask them a bunch of questions. And she said that they did not do any denoising to any of the footage except one shot. And that had me kind of thinking, like, why? What was wrong with that one shot that you guys denoised? It must have been really noisy. I will give Panasonic this though. You could tell that not a lot of color correction, not a lot of any like digital sharpening, anything was done. You could tell that these films were literally shot internally, and they were cut and edited, and there was barely anything done in post in terms of making the image look better. You could tell, because for them to show that footage, the fire scene, and how noisy that footage looked, for them to show that, to unveil the camera, in a way, it's almost like it's admirable. It's like, okay, at least that they're honest with us. So I will give them that. But like I said, that's the worst case scenario you're ever going to use that camera for, most likely. Pitch black surroundings with a fire pit. But it was really noisy. They said it's just a pre-production unit, so the sensor tends to be more noisy. I don't know how true that is. Kind of sounds like bull crap to me, but who knows? Maybe they're right. Anyway, other than that, overall, the event was great. There was a lot of I keep saying Canon, jeez. There's a lot of Panasonic representatives there to answer questions, and they did answer questions. And they had a lot of people there. Just like you, when you're watching a YouTube video and you have all these questions and you're sick of writing them in the comments, you want to ask somebody. You're like, I wish I had that Panasonic rep here so I can ask them. Well, they were getting pummeled with questions constantly. Some negative, some positive, some kind of in between, and they answered them all very well. So I have to say, Panasonic did a great job with this. Their PR was great. They had I like how they chose a movie theater. They gave out free popcorn and free snacks and free drinks, so you could sit there, eat popcorn, and watch the movies. It was cool. If you like the VariCam, you're gonna love the EVA1. You're gonna love it. Buy it. If you're a fan of the VariCam but you couldn't afford it and you're waiting for something like this, buy it. Just pre-order it. I'm telling you. I was really looking for a more cinematic look, and this camera just didn't deliver for me personally. Overall, I'd give the event 7.5 out of 10. It was good. Had a good time. Just disappointed personally at the footage because it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be what you want it to be. You might be looking for this exact camera. For the price, the specs, it's unrivaled. It's unrivaled. Canon really needs to step up and start making some serious decisions, because Panasonic's going to start stealing their customer base for people that are looking for more broadcast quality shoots, because Canon's specs are just not delivering right now. The C200 to me is a huge disappointment. The internal RAW is cool, but I feel like that camera is more of a experiment rather than actual full-fledged camera system that's going to last me 5-6 years. I feel like that camera's specs are already obsolete before it even came out. I mean, I know it's out now, but it's just, I just can't see myself investing in a $7,500 camera that specs are already obsolete, and within 2 or 3 years it's going to be it's just going to get worse and worse as years pass. Canon really should have added a 4:2 210-bit codec into the C200. It's inexcusable. To me, it's like they keep saying to us, oh, don't buy the the 5D Mark IV, because that's not what you're supposed to use it for. It's not for video. It's not for professional video. But then they release a C200 with a codec that is absolutely just a 4208-bit. That's the same codec that I have in my 5D Mark III. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. I believe the codec for the 5D Mark IV is actually 422 8-bit. So it's like you have a better internal codec for your Mark IV than you do your professional cinema line that you're telling us to buy instead of the Mark IV, and not to complain about it, but yet you give us these crappy codecs internally. It doesn't make sense to me. Canon's kind of backwards right now, where Panasonic, they're pumping everything they can to this camera, and they're going to get a lot of sales. I have a feeling this camera's going to sell very well. A lot of people in the audience were happy. I could tell a lot of people, there was, a lot of claps, a lot of, loud ovation for the films when they all ended. Rightfully so, they're all fantastic. Because people are excited for this camera. There are people that like the images that come out of the VariCam and like that style. So yeah, I think this camera's going to sell really well. And I really hope that Canon understands that people are only going to wait so long for them to kind of, play a ball. They're kind of playing ball with the C200 with the RAW, but it's just like RAW and then friggin' 4208 bit MP4, and it's just like there's no middle ground at all, and that's just too drastic for me. So I'm probably going to wait to see what else Canon releases. Hopefully they release a C300 Mark III, and then the Mark II price drops even further. But I don't see that happening, because now you have the C200, which is $7,500. So how much lower is the Mark III gonna drop? Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, EVA1, fantastic camera. If All right, I'm done.